It's 1988. A tiny, independent British engineering crew operating out of a quiet Oxfordshire workshop walks straight into the most brutal 24-hour race on the planet. Their opponent? Mercedes-Benz. Not a local car dealership, but the entire multi-billion-dollar corporate weight of Daimler-Benz, returning to motorsport to crush everyone, with a budget that made the rest of the grid look like they were playing with pocket change. And against all mathematical odds, the underdogs won. But this isn't just a story about a historic victory. It's about a dying gearbox, 40 minutes of pure agony, and what happens when the giant you just humiliated decides to truly understand why this race shook the automotive world to its core. We have to look at who actually owned the racetrack in the 1980s. For 7 consecutive years, Le Mans wasn't a competition. It was a Porsche exhibition. They dominated the tarmac so completely that other factory teams showed up just to fight for the scraps. Jaguar desperately wanted to reclaim their golden era from the 1950s, but there was a massive problem. The legendary in-house racing department that built the iconic D-Type was ancient history. Instead, Jaguar had to rely on Tom Walkinshaw Racing, or TWR, a gritty, brilliant outside firm known for tuning touring cars, not building elite endurance prototypes from scratch. TWR built some great machines, like the XJR6 and XJR8, but Le Mans kept chewing them up and spitting them out. Then, the mountain got even steeper. Mercedes-Benz officially announced they were coming back to sports car racing, partnering with Sauber to unleash the devastating C9. The world braced for impact. A titan with infinite money was entering the arena, and everyone expected a total corporate execution. But TWR didn't flinch. To face this incoming storm, they unleashed the Jaguar XJR9, designed by the visionary Tony Southgate. This monster held a massive secret under its bodywork. A roaring 7-liter V12 engine. Unbelievably, this power plant was structurally derived from the standard engine found in the Jaguar XJS road car, a vehicle ordinary people drove to the office. This naturally aspirated beast pushed out up to 750 horsepower of pure unadulterated muscle. No complex turbochargers, just raw displacement. For the iconic French circuit, they engineered the XJR 9LM, a low-drag variant built for one terrifying purpose: surviving the Mulsanne Strait at a mind-melting 240 miles per hour. Tom Walkinshaw knew that sports car racing is a game of attrition. You don't win Le Mans with just a fast car. You win it by surviving. So, while Mercedes brought precision, Walkinshaw brought sheer volume. He entered 5 cars, backed by 14 drivers, and a logistics operation that stretched their budget to the absolute limit. Wrapped in the striking purple, white, and gold silk-cut livery, these cars didn't whisper, they screamed defiance at the giants. June 1988, the starting grid is packed with 27 elite factory entries. The atmosphere is tense, but before the green flag even drops, drama strikes. During practice, a terrifying high-speed tire blowout forces the entire Sauber Mercedes team to withdraw on safety grounds. The German giant was out before the fight even started. That left Porsche, the reigning kings. Hans-Joachim Stuck put his factory Porsche 962 on pole position, signaling that the throne would not be surrendered easily. What followed was an absolute war of nerves. Jan Lammers, piloting the number 2 Jaguar, sliced his way through the pack. As night fell, the lead traded hands like a hot potato between British muscle and German engineering. Then, with less than an hour to go, disaster struck the leading Jaguar. The gearbox began to disintegrate. Lammers felt a violent shudder through the chassis as the transmission tried to tear itself apart. A sister Jaguar had already retired moments earlier from the exact same failure. If he clutched or shifted, the teeth would shatter, ending a 30-year dream in a cloud of smoke. Lammers didn't panic. He slammed the car into 4th gear and left it there. For 40 agonizing minutes, he drove a 240 mile per hour prototype around tight corners and massive straights using only a single gear balancing the clutch and praying the engine wouldn't stall or explode. Seeing the danger, Walkinshaw ordered the other surviving Jaguars to fall in line right behind Lammers. They weren't just celebrating, they were preparing to physically ram his car across the finish line if the mechanical vitals failed. They didn't need to. The checkered flag waved, and Jaguar captured its first Le Mans title. The racing world went absolutely wild. A privateer squad operating out of Oxfordshire had just humbled the greatest racing programs on Earth, going on to capture the entire World Sports Car Championship that same year. It was the ultimate motorsport fairy tale. But fairy tales usually end at the finish line. Reality doesn't. Mercedes-Benz hadn't been defeated. They had simply been delayed. In 1989, the Silver Arrows returned with a flawlessly refined Sauber Mercedes C9. This time, there were no tire blowouts, no mistakes. The Silver Cars absolute destroyed the field, winning 7 out of 8 races that season and securing a dominant 1-2 finish at Le Mans. Jaguar's beautiful V12S couldn't win a single race that entire year. The giant had woken up, and its wrath was absolute. The 1988 victory wasn't the end of a corporate empire. It was just one perfect day where an underdog refused to blink. If you love untold motorsport history, hit that subscribe button, smash the like video, and tell me in the comments what's your favorite racing livery of all time. See you in the next one.